we'll be going over the fantasy matchups that we pinned up against some modern day fighters, against some throwback fighters. In my opinion, a tough one to choose. Marco Antonio Barrera, pinning him up against Vasily Lomachenko.
Throughout Loma's career, I think he struggles with physical fighters. People trying to push you around. Barrera is no slouch to getting into a physical fight. He's one of those fighters that he has legendary fights where it's back and forth, nonstop action for 12 rounds.
Let's do the heavyweights. Lennox Lewis versus Oleksandr Usyk. Who would win in this heavyweight matchup?
This is definitely a relevant question. We crowned the king, right, of our current heavyweights. Okay, how will he do against the past kings?
I would pick Oleksandr Usyk.
Why? Just because of the IQ?
Recency bias.
Who wins this matchup at 168? Canelo Alvarez and Roy Jones Jr.
Roy Jones, he's the definition of athleticism, cat-like reflexes, power.
Someone said, damn, the Mexicans would pick Canelo against Jesus. In parentheses, Christ, not your cousin. Welcome back to another episode of The Last Round Podcast, where we cover everything from traditional boxing to influencer boxing and everything in between. In today's first episode of 2025, we'll be going over some of our community poll reactions and as well as some of the fantasy matchups that we pinned up against some modern day fighters, against some throwback fighters. But before we get into the episode, make sure to like and subscribe and follow us on all forms of social media. Lastly, don't forget to join our Discord. We're trying to build up a community, and you guys joining would be greatly appreciated. But now diving into the episode, first off, Happy New Year's 2025 officially here, and there was no boxing. No boxing like last year where we witnessed Barroso knock out Davis. We witnessed the return of Virgil Ortiz within the first week of 2024. 2025, we got to wait a little bit. The next big fight, as you knew it, in mid-January, and then we still got the mega fight in February was David Benavidez and David Morrell.
Yeah, so boxing fans are fiending right now,
Yeah, I mean, in the words of Dan Raphael on Twitter, there's no boxing. Call your wife or call your family. So, since there was no boxing, there's not really much. And also, boxing has been kind of in a little stagnant stage at the moment. There's not really too much drama going on. There's not really too much things happening ever since the Fury and Usyk rematch back in December. So we were kind of in a very calm sort of setting at the moment, which gave us the opportunity to kind of engage with our own community. And one of the ways we engage with our community is by doing polls on our community post on YouTube. And for the past weekend, we did a series of polls, which included some modern day fighters and pinning them up against some throwback legendary fighters. And let's say we had some funny reactions. We had some very eye-opening, what's the word? Some eye-opening, oh my gosh. Responses, yes. To the polls, and I was very surprised by some of the who people were voting for in these polls. So let's get started with it. We had a series of three different weight classes, a series of 9 different fighters, or 6 different fighters, I mean. And let's go on with the first one, okay? First one, this one was a very interesting one, and in my opinion, a tough one to choose. We had Marco Antonio Barrera pinning him up against Vasily Lomachenko at 128. Who would
126.
win? 126, my bad. Who would win in that matchup?
Yeah, this one is really difficult. I think if I remember correctly, the community poll was pretty wide.
Oh yeah, we had 620 votes for this poll, and 69% picked Vasily Lomachenko to beat Barrera.
That is very high, 69%. Wow. So I guess people were sleeping on my boy Marco Antonio Barrera, but. I don't know. I think this one was definitely the toughest of the 3 fights. I think both fighters at 126, I mean, they're both of them. I wouldn't say Loma was, I don't think you'd say he's in his prime. I think 130 Loma was in his prime. But Barrera was definitely in his prime at 126, and he was a dangerous fighter.
The thing is also, I mean, Vasily Lomachenko started his career at 126, and he only fought around, I think 6 times at that weight division. You also got to look at, Barrera fought a multitude, so many fights at 126, and he kind of fluctuated between 122, 126, 130. He was always fluctuating in between those weight classes. But no, yeah, for sure, the experience for especially specifically the 126, which is the key word or the key number right there. You have to side with Barrera based on the experience. Of course, Vasily Lomachenko brings the Olympic experience. Hence why he got his first title shot in only his second fight when he fought Salido. But regardless of that, yeah, Barrera had so much experience at 126. So I think that's one of my main factors as to also why I would, it's one of the things that you kind of have to edge towards Barrera if you were trying to pin him up on who would win.
Yeah, to be honest, this is really hard because just based off like physical attributes, they both are like the same height. They both don't have like a big back. Big frame. Yeah, that's a better word. They don't have a big frame. Big back. They're not big backs. They're really skinny guys, and so there's that to keep in mind. But also, one of the key differences that I see is just the amount of professional fights that Marco has. Like, he started boxing professionally at the age of like 15, 16 in Mexico, just starting from the dirt and then just working his way up to like the big stage. Vasily Lomachenko had a completely different road. He was a very decorated amateur, and he basically won it all in the amateurs. Like, he won everything, every single tournament that one could, as an amateur hopeful, could win. I mean, he won that.
Yeah, he literally has the best amateur record to date. 300 off the top of my head, 396 wins and 1 defeat, I believe, with 2 Olympic gold medals and a ton of international victories, like trophies. Like, I think he's the best amateur we've ever seen in the sport of boxing. So this is why, he only had like 5-6 fights, I believe, at 126. So not that much. But he was already mega experienced. He has so much experience going into the fight, and I think a different experience, obviously, than the professional experience. Because in his second fight, Lomachenko actually lost. He lost against Orlando Salido, a veteran, Mexican veteran at 126. A fan favorite, I'd say, and the reason why he lost that fight wasn't because Salido had better skills, wasn't because he was more fundamental than him. It was because he made that fight rough. He made that fight dirty. He made that fight something that Lomachenko wasn't used to, and Loma wasn't experienced with that, and he actually took the loss against Salido.
Salido also came in overweight.
That's another big factor. Yeah, like 3 pounds, something like that.
Yeah, he came in overweight. That fight, many deem, and I see also controversial in the aspect that Salido only went in there to win. He didn't care about making weight. He didn't care about
the title.
I mean, it became vacated after, or it was already vacated. But
hey, you gotta respect that mentality, though.
No, yeah, he's going in to beat him. Like, he didn't care about whatever. He just wanted to go in there and beat him by any means necessary.
He wanted to say, "I beat that 2-time Olympic gold medalist."
Yeah, with no amateur pedigree or nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, and it's very surprising because that's a big. It's a huge loss in Lomachenko because, during that time when he turned pro, he wanted to immediately fight for a belt, but they told him, no, we can't let you do that.
That's not how it works, pal.
Yeah, so at least he was able to grant it for the second, for a second fight. But yeah, this was such a big loss because, we had Lomachenko going up against Salido, the more experienced fighter, but we're talking about Lomachenko coming off as the biggest hype train boxing had seen in a very long time, 2-time Olympic champion. And everyone second fight in, it was already title, or it's already competing for a world belt. And for him to lose, the thing, he only lost by split.
It was a split decision.
It's a split, and a lot of people still see it. They're like, Salido, even though you won, that fight was very dirty, man.
Yeah, and I think that's actually I think that's pretty important because throughout Loma's career, I feel like pretty much every person he's fought, I think he has better skills. He's fundamentally better footwork. He understands boxing a lot better. But I think a lot of the 3 losses, I guess, come from his opponents being a little bit more physical than him. I think he struggles with physical fighters, like not even like striking wise, just like people trying to push you around. Loma's a smaller guy, especially when he started going up the weight classes, I think it became very apparent for people. In those lower weight classes, it wasn't that apparent, but I think that plays a very big factor in this fight, especially as well with Barrera. Barrera is no slouch to getting into a physical fight. I mean, he's one of those fighters that he has legendary fights where it's back and forth, nonstop action for 12 rounds.
And also, I mean, he gets physical outside the ring. He be punching people during the press conference. If Salido is that physical with you, I mean, you can imagine how Barrera would be too. I mean, I'm pretty sure Barrera would have come in with some more killer mentality as well. I mean, this was also an aging Orlando Salido that took on Vasily Lomachenko. So if you change Salido and replace him with a Barrera 126 in his prime, very young and hungry, I mean, you're going to get a completely different physical fighter in that aspect. And I think that's what also favors Barrera. I mean, he's like you said, he's no slouch. He's no rookie to getting into firefights with his opponents. And he's, if you're going to get a shot on him, be prepared to take 3-4 shots from Barrera because he's going to want to get his lick back. And he's shown multiple times throughout his career that he wants to get his lick back if you're able to get a good shot on him.
Yeah, one thing I want to ask you guys is that given the fact that I feel like Lomachenko right away, once he turned professional, he wanted to rise up the ranks, and it was really quickly at 126. He didn't have that many fights at 126. Do you believe that's another reason why you guys could maybe lean towards Barrera? Because there's not enough evidence to show that Lomachenko could have been a really great fighter. Mm-hmm. That was a problem that he had, like just his promotion matching him up with opponents, because a lot of the champions didn't want to fight against this guy who was really up and coming, hot, a style that no one has ever really seen before. He almost looked like a ballerina from Ukraine.
Yeah, I definitely think Loma could have had a great run at 126. It's well within his skill set, but probably the reason being was there was better fights at 130, and that run at 130 was really great for Lomachenko, so it served him well in his career. So who are we to judge? Maybe he could have stayed at 126, and maybe it could have been better, maybe it could have been worse. We don't know. But, I mean, you can't deny that the footwork that he has is once in a generation. This is a unique type of style that Lomachenko has. So that's the one thing that I can see that poses the biggest difficulty for Barrera is going to be the footwork. Because Barrera has never seen anything like that. No fighter has, So that Ukrainian dance really obviously helped Lomachenko a lot. And if Loma is able to use his footwork, use angles, throw a lot of volume combinations, he might be able to freeze Barrera and pull away some rounds. That's the only key way to victory I see for Lomachenko.
Would you say that Lomachenko is a lot more skilled than Barrera?
Fundamentally, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I think so too. I mean, if you look at the way they fight and the way they are, I mean, of course, Barrera, he has his own pedigree to him. He has his own flair, his own type of unique style that also makes him a legendary fighter, and that's what got him so many wins and he was able to win so many titles in different weight classes. But yeah, like Lomachenko, I mean, no one had ever seen such a style like him before. I mean, tell me who in modern day boxing turns pro and is immediately given a title shot in his second fight. I mean, it speaks volume to the levels of Vasily Lomachenko, and anyone can tell you. I'll say this: a lot of people tend to kind of shit on Lomachenko now because he lost against Devin Haney, he lost against Teofimo Lopez, and these were fights at 135. And like you mentioned earlier, Lomachenko is a smaller guy, he doesn't have a big frame. And he looked the best when he was fighting at featherweight at 130. When he's fighting in those lower weight classes is when he looks the best because he's able to his opponents aren't as big as they are at 135. You remember when he fought Luke Campbell at 135? Yeah. I mean, Luke Campbell is nowhere near can't match Lomachenko skill wise, but he still had some good moments. He made it a little tough for Lomachenko just because he was so much. I mean, he's 5'10", 5'9", 5'10", compared to like 5'6", 7". Lomachenko going up for his third weight division. I mean, Lennox dropped him at 135 too. I mean, they only shit on Lomachenko right now because he's a smaller guy fighting at a bigger weight, but. Yeah, that if he's fighting at 126, 130, in my opinion, he looked the best in that.
I think that's definitely the most dangerous version of Lomachenko when he's fighting guys his actual size. So that's why this fight with Barrera, I mean, this is it's a tough fight. I'm gonna be honest. I'd say for Lomachenko, his most notable win at 126 would be against Gary Russell. I believe that was like his third fight. Boom, already beat him. Gary Russell he's a good fighter in the 126. So
yeah, and he was still young. He was like up and coming. That was like the beginning.
He was undefeated.
Undefeated as well.
Yeah.
That was a good win for him.
Yeah, and it was interesting because, or he wasn't champ. I think they're fighting for the vacant. I'm not even sure anymore. But yeah, that fight against Gary Russell. I mean, if you look at that fight, I remember I watched him multiple times.
Bad.
Yeah, it was like a one-sided trashing for Lomachenko. He just suddenly just paralyzed Gary Russell. And Gary Russell, known for his quick hands, known for his boxing. I mean, he couldn't do nothing against Lomachenko. And it's funny because they gave the fight a majority decision for Lomachenko. A judge gave it a draw. I think it was like 114. But all the other judges gave it to Lomachenko. I mean, it was pretty like 116, 112, and 116, 112, two of them. Okay. So... what were you gonna say? Yeah,
another key highlight that I want to point out for both fighters is that one thing that both fighters would use to their advantage would be high volume. Vasily Lomachenko, he's known to just throw 3, 4, 5, 6 punch combinations at almost any given round, and he's able to land them just almost at 100% completion. Barrera, he also did that too. He threw quite a bit of punches. He just threw a lot, and the difference between well, that's the main thing. So that's almost a similar thing. But the key difference that separates them two is that Barrera definitely had power in both hands. He would be able to stop guys with the left or with the right hand. Vasily, not so much. He would kind of like take you to deep waters and then maybe try to see if he can get like a TKO stoppage.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, Loma is more of like a death by 1,000 cuts. Yeah. He throws a lot more punches and kind of breaks you down, breaks your will, breaks your spirit. Like that's another thing. Lomachenko looked almost unbeatable at 126 and 130, especially at 130. I'd say. I mean, the things that he was doing to Nicholas Walters, like a dangerous fighter at the 130 division.
He made him quit.
He made him quit. He was schooling him. It was disgusting what he was doing to him. So. That's one thing with Loma. I mean, you can't sleep on him. I know a lot of people like look at him now as fights at 135, and they're like, he's good, but he's not that good. Oh, go look at his old stuff when he was at 130. He was going crazy. He was almost untouchable. So I think that's what makes this fight so close.
Yeah, it almost seems as though Vasily takes his opponent's spirit, and Marcos Barrera would just beat his opponent.
Yeah, I mean, if you kind of want to compare, I mean, if you want to make like a case for Lomachenko, I mean, you can you can look at the fight between Barrera and Pacquiao.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, I mean, you witnessed that fight was a crazy Pacquiao. I mean, he was the underdog during that fight, and I mean, he came out and just whooped Barrera. He stopped him even. I mean, we're talking about Barrera during that time, who was coming off wins against I think already Morales, Johnny Tapia, Kevin Kelly, Nasir Hamed. He was like on a how many 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 win streak before he fought Pacquiao, and then he fell short. But I mean, look at that fight with Pacquiao though. Pacquiao was nonstop volume. I mean, it was crazy the output that Pacquiao was doing. Now, I mean, Pacquiao also said he was doing like 20, 30 rounds in camp for that fight, which is an insane amount of sparring that he was doing, which is why he was able to maintain that pace and have that cardio. But if a fighter like Pacquiao, with the speed, because Pacquiao was also known for his speed and his footwork. I mean, Lomachenko would have a lot of success, and I think he would have, Barrera in bad shape throughout. He'd have his big moments in that fight.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too with Pacquiao. One of the things that they always said is that he throws punches from everywhere, different angles, unique angles that you don't even expect, and he's throwing punches from there, and it kind of catches his opponent off guard. Well, Loma, I mean, that's his bread and butter, right? Changing angles, getting on the side of his opponent, and getting an advantageous position, and then letting his hands go. So I think that would be the best way for Loma to win, is that kind of using his footwork, getting on the sides, using different angles, and I think if he's able to freeze Barrera, and Barrera doesn't really know what to do, he's never seen that, he has to adjust, then maybe he can get some good offense off.
Yeah, because Vasily Lomachenko, just like Manny Pacquiao, he has quick hand speed, quick footwork, and he moves quite a bit. He moves pretty good. Lomachenko has a high ring IQ, man. High ring IQ. He can defeat you in almost a lot of different ways. So I would say that's a similarity between Pacquiao and Vasily, but the main difference is the power. Manny Pacquiao had power in both hands. He was stopping just about everyone, dude. I mean, it's possible that Barrera can't take Pacquiao's power, but he could possibly take Vasily's power. Yeah, but I don't know about his will, because those Mexicans are, you gotta beat their ass. You gotta kill them almost to stop them. Yeah,
That is true. So I think that the two or some of the big traits or key factors for fighters for this fight would be, I mean, Barrera physicality.
yeah.
And he's also more power than Lomachenko. But I think the physicality is what would really benefit Barrera in this occasion, in this matchup, whereas Lomachenko, I mean, just the skill. I mean, the high IQ, the footwork, and the fast combinations that he had at 126. I mean, that's what would give him the edge over Barrera. What would you guys choose between this matchup?
I would say I'd give it to Marco Antonio Barrera. I'd give it a 65-35. You know, some odds, but I think he has a better chance of winning at 126.
Yeah, I would say I'm leaning more towards Barrera as well, but like a 60-40, because Vasily Lomachenko, man, like he really does have a high ring IQ, and just he moves so well. Like when I think of Vasily, I definitely do think of a dancer, a ballerina, just being able to float in and out of the ring, you know. So, you know, that's how I have it. But I'm gonna give it to Barrera just because of the accolades and what he's done more at that weight class.
Yeah, I was gonna say I edge it towards Barrera slightly. I think it's like more of a 55 for me. But I mean, you can't sleep on Lomachenko, especially when he was fighting at those lower weight classes. That's where we saw the very best of him. And I mean, Barrera started. I mean, like you said, he was like what 15, 16 years old, and he's fighting like a baby weight, like a 110, 11, 12. You know, he was very light, so he's gotten up in his weight. So he's still a small guy, and regardless of still being small, Lomachenko, I mean, it'd be a good matchup for them. But I just think the physicality of Barrera, especially the physicality that he faced during those 2000s, I mean, it's a different game back then, man, different gravy. So I would edge it slightly for Barrera, mainly because of physicality and also the experience that he has. You know, he had so many fights at 126 against so many great names at 126. You can't forget the Prince Nasir, the Morales, Kevin Kelly. I mean, he had he fought Pacquiao, even though he lost against Pacquiao. That's still a banging fight. So if I had to give it, I'd give it to Marco Antonio Barrera. Slight edge on him, because Lomachenko, I mean, you can't sleep on that IQ, on that footwork, man. It's killer if you do. So those were our picks for that.
Well, actually, I kind of want to hear what some of the people put in the comments.
All right, so the comment section is always funny. I always like looking at when we do these types of polls. It's always I like seeing what the people think, and then sometimes the comments makes me laugh because they're hilarious. They're going
Makes
back
me
and
chuckle.
forth.
Everybody got a thing to say, you know.
Yeah,
Gotta share their opinion.
Yeah, everyone's got their opinion. Some people may not agree. And they might not agree and then just keep sliding, but some people might just comment, try to rebuttal them. But we had a lot of people saying this poll don't know boxing, because as I mentioned earlier, Barrera was or Vasily Lomachenko edged this poll 69% to 31 for Marco Antonio Barrera. So a lot of people were not very happy with the poll results. Someone said and undisputed or on undisputed, the game, Marco. In real life, still Marco. But we finally got a Lomachenko. Someone said prime Loma. I go with him, which is a fair case. Someone said it'll be the same as Manny versus Barrera, but Loma would beat him worse.
Damn, I don't know about beat him worse, but wow.
Okay.
Someone said that would have been fire. And then the big one from @TopDog182. Marco Antonio Barrera would do him like he did to Nassim. And this sparked a feud, a 26 reply thread. I'm probably not gonna go over every single one, but him and some other people were just going back and forth about this I guess controversial comment.
I mean, it is a crazy thing to say. I don't even know how you can compare Nassim Hamed to Lomachenko. I mean, two completely polar opposite styles, you know. Naseem was a athletic fighter, you know. He uses athleticism, his reflexes, his speed, and his power to win fights.
And his awkwardness as well.
You know, yeah, he was athletic. He broke a lot of rules. Like you wouldn't look at Naseem Hamed and be like, wow, that guy has mastered boxing. But you would look at Lomachenko, you'd be like, oh my gosh, his fundamentals is insane. So I don't know how he drew up that conclusion, but hey,
it's so funny because they started off. It's all. It ends off with them talking about Canelo.
That's what?
You always got to bring it back to the face of boxing, man. Always got to bring it back.
So that was our kind of our picks about who would win in this matchup. We edge it towards Barrera. According to our fan base, they're edging it more towards Vasily Lomachenko. And in the comment section, it was a bit spicy. Let's just say the least. The next community poll that we had was featuring, let's do the heavyweights. We had a community poll featuring Lennox Lewis versus Oleksandr Usyk, who would win in this heavyweight matchup. And out of 535 votes, Lennox Lewis edged it with 55% to Oleksandr Usyk's 45%. Now, this is a great fight, in my opinion. I think Lennox Lewis was the best heavyweight of his era. And, now that we're kind of finishing up our era of heavyweight fighters, Oleksandr Usyk reigns supreme, having defeated Anthony Joshua twice, Tyson Fury twice, Daniel Dubois. Oleksandr Usyk is for sure the best heavyweight of this current era. So it's fun seeing what the people would think between a matchup featuring Lennox Lewis and Usyk.
Yeah, this is definitely a relevant question. I feel like a lot of people have been talking about this because obviously, we crowned the king, right, of our current heavyweights, Usyk, and we're like, okay, how will he do against the past kings? And Lennox Lewis obviously is a fantastic king, and he's a fighter that I feel like everyone respects. I think a lot of people, if you go back to the heavyweights, obviously we got icons like Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, but I feel like no one really says of an icon of Lennox Lewis, but everyone respects him still. Everyone is like, oh, that guy was. I mean, he beat a lot of people, and he had a great resume. He was the king, so we respect him. But I don't think we revere him as an icon like Iron Mike Tyson or something.
Yeah, I think that just really has to do with the marketing. But I mean, when you look at his record, you can't deny that Lennox Lewis was definitely the. You can make the argument that he was one of the 4 kings at the heavyweight weight class within that decade. Some can even argue he was the number 1 just because he beat just about everyone. And so for me, this one was, I wanted to say just initially at first, it was kind of hard for me to kind of which way to side with. But if I'm going to be honest, man, if I were to kind of lean towards now a little bit towards a side, I would pick Oleksandr Usyk. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why? Just because of the IQ? The
recency bias.
Hey, at least he's honest, right?
No, I mean, okay, the number 1 thing for sure is Alexander has high ring IQ, and I feel like he understands his place within the heavyweights. He's just a small guy now. Modern heavyweights, you got to be at least 6'3" minimum or even more to even have some type of success at that weight class. And Oleksandr Usyk didn't even start at heavyweight; he started at cruiserweight, and so he became undisputed there. And then now he became undisputed again. That's something that Lennox Lewis, even though with the impressive record and impressive accolades that he has, he never became a 2-time undisputed champion. Two division champion.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting one because, obviously 2 different fighters, like you said, from different weight classes. But I feel like for Lennox Lewis, yeah. I mean, we have a reference. We have Evander Holyfield. They fought twice, and Evander Holyfield is just like Usyk, 6'2". He's low to 220, probably small heavyweight, coming up from cruiserweight. And I feel like those fights serve as a good reference to see how would Lennox fight a smaller guy who they don't have the same style. Holyfield was a lot more physical and a lot more, let's get down to business. But Usyk obviously a little bit more smart. But I think that gives you at least some indication to how Lennox would fight a smaller guy.
Yeah. And I mean, they fought twice. First fight ended in a draw. And then the second fight, Lennox Lewis defeated Evander Holyfield by UD. So, yeah, I think that's a good indication of how he would, match up against a smaller guy. Of course, it's not a direct replica of Usyk. Completely different styles of fighters there. But like you said, it does give us some type of indication or a visual representation of how he would kind of fight against a smaller guy. But, I mean, also, Lennox Lewis is I keep forgetting my words today, man. He's a heavyweight. Oh my God, what's the word? He's when the fighter's at the
when he's tall?
The top echelon.
No. It's when you belong in the weight division, like you've been there your whole entire career.
Oh yeah, he's been at the heavyweight since the beginning of his professional career. I think maybe even when he was an amateur, maybe.
No, but I'm just. What's the word for it?
I don't know.
He stayed there forever.
No, there's a word for it.
He's made his career at heavyweight.
It's not a phrase.
Oh, it's not a phrase.
Regardless, okay, whatever. Lewis, he's been heavyweight fighter for nearly pretty much his entire career. So Usyk's been going up. So he's a natural. There you go. Oh my gosh, that's the word. Yeah. He's a natural heavyweight. So that's also going to be a big factor. I mean, Lennox Lewis. I mean, based on what I'm seeing right now, he was ranging in the 240s. Damn, he fought 230. He was 229 at one point. That's crazy. But no, yeah. Oh, that's when he was younger too.
Yeah, when he had hair. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was his prime, wasn't it?
He was I think the heaviest was like 256 actually in his last fight. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think the one thing is that for sure if we were just to break it down, the power would lean towards Lennox Lewis. That guy, natural heavyweight, has been a heavyweight his whole entire career. So that's there's no denying that. And he also fights tall. I know some guys, sometimes fighters not in the heavyweight class, but sometimes for example, the first fighter that comes to my head, Sebastian Fundora, he kind of fights in the mid-range, close proximity to his opponent, and he's pretty tall for that weight class. Lennox Lewis,
pretty tall.
He's
massive.
Lennox Lewis, he was pretty tall, and the thing is, he would fight tall as well. He understood range as really well, establishing that jab, establishing the range, just making sure that his opponent knows that if he comes into this little territory right here, mid-range, I'm going to get you with that right hand.
Yeah, so also Lennox Lewis, I mean, you mentioned it earlier. His resume is packed, man. He has some very good wins in that resume, and we're talking about some top-notch, high-class heavyweights during that time. He was fighting everyone, and he came out on top against everyone. And that tells you a lot about the fighter that Lennox Lewis was, and, I mean, not still is, but was. But, yeah, I mean, with Oleksandr Usyk, I mean, we're looking at his heavyweight run. It's been generational. I mean, he's defeated every single big name fighter besides Deontay Wilder, okay?
Yeah, he has to climb that mountain before we can officially call him the GOAT.
Yes, he needs to fight Deontay Wilder. We just got to make sure he can withstand the right hand.
Bomb squad.
But, yeah, so this was a very fun poll or a fun matchup between these two fighters, two of their respected, credible heavyweights of their generations. The comment section was a bit spicy too. Someone said, "Now this is a fight to watch." They really enjoyed that matchup. That's true. And someone came out controversially, said Lewis was such a dirty fighter, he'd do something again. I mean, shit, man. Maybe he could, or maybe he would. I mean, you never know, man. Then we had someone said Lennox Lewis beats every boxer ever. Usyk. Lennox don't want that smoke with lefty. And then someone said Usyk wins and it's not even close. Wow. Which went into a little thread, and the first reply is "You're Mexican."
Whoa! Why do we gotta get racial here? Come on.
And then the dude replied saying, "What are you confused about?" And then someone said Lewis is GOAT. Who is Usyk? He beat AJ and Fury. Lol. Both are trash. And so is Usyk.
That just discredit all of them. Fuck
them.
So yeah, I guess that was the reaction and the results for this poll for the heavyweight matchup. Lennox Lewis edging it over Oleksandr Usyk was 55%, and I think it'd be a very good matchup between them. I think we'd get a very I think this would be a better. I think we'd get a better fight than Tyson Fury, honestly.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, it'd be a lot better.
I think Lewis is like a lot more well equipped to fight in the close range with like a lot of punches than Fury is.
Yeah. Now sliding over to the main event.
Did you guys give your prediction for who would win between them two?
No.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Oh okay. Let's do that real quick before I slide over to the main event. I'd edge it towards Lennox Lewis, honestly.
I would
I think the
well.
resume is what really gravitates me, and also he's a natural heavyweight fighter, so I think. And also, I mean, he's just that guy, bro.
Just that guy. Seems like he was, dude. He was beating everyone.
He's the king. Basically the same thing. I think his style. He kind of fights tall, and he fights like he knows his range, and he'll punish you for it. Not like a guy like Fury, who he's seen glimpses of having power, but he doesn't carry crazy power. Whereas, I mean, Lennox has some good ass knockouts, like some devastating shots. So I think I'd edge it towards Lennox.
You said you would go for Lennox based off of resume.
Mm-hmm.
I just named the resume of Oleksandr Usyk.
Oh, I mean,
it's pretty good.
Yeah, he has a. You're holding.
My bad.
He has a great resume, of course. I mean, he's beat every single big name at the heavyweight division. But I mean, you look at. I don't think it compares to. Lennox Lewis. I mean, he
has Mike Tyson in his resume.
Jake Paul has Mike Tyson on his
resume. Right.
Yeah, come on.
Let's calm down here. Now Mike Tyson's name is in the mud now,
dude. No, yeah. I mean, yeah, of course, Usyk. Like I mentioned it already. Yeah, he's on a generational run. He has the best resume at heavyweight at the moment. But if you compare it to Lennox Lewis, I mean, Lennox Lewis has some big names in that resume. I mean, Tommy Morrison, Ray Mercer. I guess you want to include Mike. He's got a Klitschko in there.
Yeah.
He's got Evander Holyfield. I mean, that's a lot of big names in that resume.
Yeah, and he also showed his heart when he lost. He got KO'd by Hasim Rockman. Came back and knocked his ass out, bro.
Yeah,
Come on.
in devastating fashion also.
Devastating. Oh my gosh.
So what you choose?
I'm still picking with Usyk, man. I really just think that he finds ways to beat bigger guys, taller guys, guys who outweigh him, guys who overpower him, guys who punch harder than him, and he still finds a way to beat them. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's a good matchup, man.
Yeah,
And I think the polls indicate that I think it would be a closer fight than a lot of people are would sometimes maybe interpret it as or try to see it as, but that doesn't compare to
the main event.
The main event, okay. Who wins this matchup at 168? Out of 974 votes, we had a matchup between Canelo Alvarez and Roy Jones Jr. Mm-hmm. And Canelo Alvarez edged it with 55% to Roy Jones's 45. This one was very controversial. It had I'm seeing right now 56 comments, and I know there's gonna be a lot of people in the threads, So how would this fight go at 168?
Wow, this fight is a great fight, honestly. I mean, both obviously accomplished fighters and just completely different styles. I feel like styles that both of them haven't really experienced. Roy Jones is super athletic. Like he's the definition of athleticism, reflexes, cat-like reflexes, power. I mean, and also confidence. He was one to talk, and he was one to back it up too. So I mean, Roy Jones, amazing fighter, and almost seemed unstoppable, especially when 160, 168, even 175. Once he started getting to heavier and started getting a little bit older, we definitely saw some cracks. But I mean, he's still, amazing fighter at 168. And I think Canelo, obviously, no slouch either. I mean, the generational run at 168 he's been doing is crazy. And I know a lot of people recently have been criticizing, us included, his recent fights, Berlanga, Munguia, this type of things. Maybe, he dodged David Benavidez, all this type of stuff. But we can't sit here and lie and say, he moved up to 168. He took out every single champion and became undisputed in 11 months. I mean, that's historic moment right there. So a prime Canelo like that, let's say Canelo moved up to 168, wanted to be undisputed, and one of the champions, instead of Billy Joe Saunders, it was Roy Jones Jr. That type of Canelo on that type of time, it's going to be a hard fight.
Yeah, and the one thing that Canelo does pretty good is that he's such a counterpuncher. He has pretty good counterpuncher, and he has pretty good timing as well. And I think that kind of correlates between the two fighter that's a counterpuncher and has pretty good timing. But he also has pretty good body work as well. He's able to break down the opponent, whether it's to the body or just like maybe sometimes in the arms. And I think that's kind of interesting. I don't think a lot of fighters really be doing that. And he does a pretty good job at that. Yeah, and then when you look at Roy Jones, man, the one thing that stands out is that he doesn't look like your typical boxer. He looks super athletic, and he's super fast. Super fast in just about all the areas that you think about. Fast hands, like you said, reflexes, footwork. But the one thing that also stands out to me is the ring IQ. He's just like Vasily being able to beat his, or maybe even like Usyk being able to beat guys that are bigger than him. He not only is able to make adjustments within the ring, but he's also able to beat his opponents in many different ways. He can stop you. He can outbox you. He can the timing is impeccable as well. Like he can do almost just about everything. He's almost the definition of a complete fighter, especially Roy Jones in the 90s. The 90s when he was crowned fighter of the decade.
Yeah, I mean, it was also during the 90s where Roy Jones was fighting at 160, 168. So, I mean, and we're talking about a 90s in his prime Roy Jones. I mean, of course, I think many people would say maybe his prime was at 175, but still, his time in the 90s at 168 is still something to consider, especially the type of fighter he is. I do agree. He is regarded as as probably the most complete fighter of all time, and. I mean, I'm looking at the comments right now, and a lot of people are favoring Canelo because they say that he carries more power. But I don't think that's true, man.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Canelo does not carry more power than Roy. Roy Jones went up all the way to heavyweight and won there. I mean, Canelo wouldn't be able to do that. Of course, Canelo started at 147. But still, I mean, even when Canelo moved up to 175, his power wasn't the same either. So there is a limit to Canelo's power. Maybe I see him more as a power puncher at 160, to be honest, and the 168, even though he does carry good power at 168. But no, to say that Canelo has more power than Roy Jones, I think it's absurd.
I think that's crazy. I mean, Canelo is a small guy. We got to remember 5'8". I don't even think he's
big back.
Yeah, he's big back. Yeah. Like he's a wide fighter, big boned. He's strong. He's physically strong. He walks his opponents down, even if they're bigger than him. I mean, he was walking Bivol down, walking Kovalev down, all the big guys. He was walking them down. That's his style, right? But I don't like his power. He definitely had more power earlier. I feel like now, especially recently, his recent fights, he has shown some power knocking down Berlanga and Munguia. But maybe not the same killer instinct or not the same cardio to where he can actually finish his opponent. Whereas back in the day, I mean, I feel like he definitely could. But I don't know. I mean, Roy Jones hit hard. He was a bigger fighter as well. And it's just like that old expression goes as well. Speed kills. Yeah. And he definitely had speed.
Yeah, Roy Jones, he can knock out guys having one hand, two hands behind his back too.
Oh yeah.
That just shows how quick and the timing, the explosiveness that Roy Jones possessed in his prime.
Yeah, prime for prime. I mean, at 168, I'm gonna do my pick right now. I think Roy Jones would obliterate Canelo. I think he would. I mean,
but you're Mexican, bro.
I'm Mexican, but I'm edging towards Roy Jones, man. I mean, you can't.
Bro's edging.
Oh gosh, I'm picking Roy Jones. I mean, look. In my opinion, I prefer the Canelo at 160 more than the Canelo at 160. Of course, his run at 168 is a lot more. There's a lot more merit for his 168 run than his 160. But the way I mean, 160 for me, Canelo was the best prime fighter I've seen from him. Like the version of it. I mean, Daniel Jacobs. Yeah. Oh my gosh, the Gennady Golovkins. All those fights at 160 he had. The way he looked, the way he performed was high peak. Was good quality Canelo, and maybe at 160 there'd be a bit more closer for me, but at 168 I think Roy Jones would have his way with Canelo.
Yeah, I think I'd say I'd agree with you. I just think Roy Jones' style is like a nightmare matchup for Canelo. I think the speed especially, I'm just gonna keep on harping on the speed, man, because the speed, Canelo would not be. He's just not used to it. There's barely any fighters that are that quick today in modern day boxing that are like Roy Jones, you know, and he's never seen that, one. And two, I mean, that's just, even if he, let's say Amir Khan, right, the speedster. Amir Khan was giving Canelo a hard time in the early half of their fight, you know. So Canelo definitely, he's not a quick fighter. He's a counter puncher. Yeah. He times his opponents. You know, he uses timing instead of speed. But it's difficult to time Roy Jones, man, because he also has timing. So I definitely would favor Roy Jones over Canelo.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, when you think about accolades as well, I mean, when you look down, I feel like when you look at both guys' resumes, it almost seems as though, you know, Canelo has done his thing, especially at 168. You know, he's been just like Roy Jones, world champion in 4 different weight classes. But I think what mostly carries Canelo's name is kind of like the face of boxing almost. I feel like Roy Jones back in the 90s, he was still top 10 pound for pound. I think, you know, he was being switched around with like Mike Tyson, maybe Prince Nassim Hamed at Nassim Hamed's like peak in the 90s. But I think Roy Jones just has a lot more accolades. I think he's done a little bit more than Canelo. I think he has one more belts than Canelo. I think the accolades speak for themselves. And not just a given bonus with the attributes that Roy Jones possesses.
Yeah, I think I remember recently Roy Jones was on the ATS podcast with Andre Ward, and Roy Jones was talking about, you know, Manny Pacquiao, 8-division world champion. You know, he went through the most divisions out of anybody ever. But Roy Jones was saying he went through the most weight, because in the lower weight classes, it's only like 3 pounds, maybe 5 pounds. Once you start getting up there, it's 175 all the way to just cruiserweight and then just heavyweight. Yeah. And Roy Jones went all the way up to heavyweight. So Roy Jones was making the point that like he's actually covered more actual weight than any fighter in history. So he's a big guy.
Yeah, and there's a reason why. Like, he's so smart. He has so many tricks up his sleeve, and I think Canelo's kind of almost as well, just kind of restricted to like one style as well. Yeah.
So who you picking?
Roy Jones.
Roy Jones.
Yeah, Roy Jones. Yeah, by a mile, dude.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Here's the question that I do want to ask you guys. Do you think he could stop Canelo?
No.
Dude, Canelo has a chin, bro.
No one can stop Canelo.
Dude, he has I'm telling you, Canelo has a granite chin, bro. I mean, even then, he has good defense. Regardless, he good head movement, especially when he was more prime, more ripe. But I mean, if you're able to still connect a punch on Canelo, he's gonna take your shot, man. He has a granite chin. He's proven it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best example is his fights against Golovkin. No. I mean, Golovkin is a natural power puncher. You know, he's one of those fighters that it doesn't need to look like a hard punch. He just has stone hands. So Canelo went 36 rounds with him, and he ate all his shots pretty easy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't think Roy Jones would have been able to knock out Canelo now.
No. Well, I'm looking at the comment section right now, and like I said, it's very spicy. First comment, the main comment was, I cannot believe people picked Canelo. Prime Roy Jones would destroy him. Laughing emoji.
There's some merit to that.
Yeah.
Someone said the casuals obviously picked Canelo. Someone said 50-50. A prime Rib Jones would embarrass Canelo.
What the hell?
Dude, that's insane.
Bro, in his prime, he looked pretty good, dude.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ribs. Nah, he was like, come on, bro.
Someone said prime for prime. Roy would school Canelo. He's too flat-footed for Roy, who was very athletic. Roy would do Canelo worse than what Bivol did.
That is true.
I think so, yeah.
That is true. I think, Canelo is very flat-footed. Yeah, and Roy Jones, I think he would love that. He'd have a field day with it. That's what I'm saying. I think it's just a nightmare matchup, I think, for Canelo.
Yeah, I think he would just be able to dance around a Canelo. Maybe if he wanted to go in and out, you know, if he wanted to with his attack and his defense. But yeah, I feel like, footwork, like Canelo just does not match up well with guys who move pretty well, who use the whole ring. Look what happened with Lara, and that was early in his career. Didn't really look good.
Someone said Roy Jones would have never ducked Benavidez or Morrell. Y'all must have forgot. Sorry, I keep clicking. I don't know why I'm like, it's like touch screen.
No,
So
no,
like
no.
I gotta get the bad tendency. Someone said Canelo by UD was a knockout or was a knockdown.
Wow.
Jones in the Olympics would run laps around prime Canelo. Come on now.
Oh, yeah, he was in the Olympics. Did he win silver?
Silver.
They robbed him, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that because it was like the reigning champion or something.
Yeah, I think it was a Japanese dude or
Yeah.
some fighter from Asia.
They robbed
Yeah.
him. I remember he beat the shit out of his opponent. That's crazy.
Someone said, "Damn, the Mexicans would pick Canelo against Jesus." And you know what he said in parentheses? Christ, not your cousin.
All right, yo, give him a heart, bro. That was actually well thought out. I respect it, you know.
Ooh, controversial. Roy was on steroids, but take it away. Slight edge to Roy. Y'all act like Canelo don't belong in the same league as Hopkins or Tony. Shaking my head. Also, Canelo is a natural 160 pounder.
Is that true? Roy was on steroids.
Well, I mean,
Someone said Canelo was on that too, boy.
I was about to say, yeah.
well, I mean, back in the '90s, I mean, we weren't testing. What they were doing a sniff test, dude. Like, nah, you don't take steroids.
And then a very controversial one. Canelo schools and dominates glass jaw Roy under 2 rounds by vicious knockout.
Glass jaw.
Glass jaw,
I mean, though, I remember obviously the notable KO from Roy. What was it
Yeah.
against? It was a rematch.
From the
Tevin
guy from
Farmer.
Florida. Yeah,
Tevin
Tevin Farmer.
Tevin.
No, what's his name?
Isn't it?
No, it's
Tevin Farmer is a modern fighter.
no.
Yeah, Tevin Farmer
from
is like a
Florida.
126
I
fighter.
can't remember his name.
Yeah, I don't remember it, but
Bald dude.
Yeah, it was. That was the knockout.
Antonio Tarver.
Tarver. Yes.
Antonio Tarver.
Yes.
I said that, but Tevin Farmer.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you could. I don't know if you could say just because he knocked him out, he's a glass jaw.
No, that's not what it was. I think that was the first time Roy Jones had ever been down. I think it was just a perfect place shot. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Because it was also early in the fight as well. Yeah. So.
You can't say Roy has a glass jaw because of that.
No.
And then that glass jaw comment got him 10 replies. People are just going back and forth on here. It's so funny. The dude's profile picture is a picture of Devin Haney trying to get up.
I like him.
No, so those were the some of the reactions and comments from this poll where we saw Canelo Alvarez edge Roy Jones 55-45 on a matchup on who wins at 168. 974 votes for this one. So the most successful poll we had last week, and it was a very controversial one, I guess. So those were the 3 polls we kind of wanted to go over, kind of engage with the community, see what they're thinking, and also kind of give our thoughts on who we think would win.
So did we match up with our community one time or
We
twice?
matched up only once.
I guess
the Lennox.
I guess
Lewis.
Rudo did twice.
Yeah.
because he picked Usyk.
Yeah.
He picked Usyk.
Oh no, Usyk lost. Yeah.
So Lennox Lewis, we got that one right.
Mm-hmm.
And then we
Well,
also
not-
did.
I don't know about right, but
Yeah,
you guys
not right.
similar.
We matched up with our
We
community.
matched. Yeah,
Oh, right,
sorry,
yeah.
sorry. We matched with the viewers.
Yeah.
Actually, it only might have been the
One for all of us.
yeah,
Okay.
because Lomachenko edged Barrera, Canelo edged,
Yeah.
and then Lewis edged.
It was just-
So y'all think?
Yeah, I never matched up with any of my of the community. No.
The big surprise was the Lomachenko one.
I think that one was the big. Yeah,
that was
crazy.
that was a crazy,
That's crazy.
disparity between the two. But the other two were pretty close. But yeah, this is kind of like a not a filler episode, but there's no boxing, man.
Yeah.
But I think it gave us the opportunity to kind of see what everyone's thinking, what they their opinions on certain types of matchups. For sure, we're gonna keep on doing these types of polls and seeing what the community thinks about them, and have fun reading some of the comments because some of the comments are so funny, man.
Yeah, if you guys like it, maybe we'll do one when there's like a no boxing during a weekend in the future.
It might be again this next coming week, man.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah, so make sure to keep your eyes out for the community polls, and we'll be for sure, hopefully, make another video like this sometime in the future. But I guess that's all we kind of wanted to talk about. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on all forms of social media. We are on X, TikTok, and Instagram. Lastly, don't forget to join our Discord. Like I said, we're trying to build up a community, and you guys joining would be greatly appreciated. But yes, this was Pablo and I'm with Rudo Anasa, and this was the Last Round Podcast. Thank you for watching.